Have you checked out all the new handicappers at Wager Talk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at Wager Talk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to wagertalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Happy Friday, guys. Welcome in here to Wager Talk TV. Hope you had a great week. Let's try and finish it off on a great note. Unfortunately, we have two games that aren't the greatest, but we'll try and find some winners for you, look at some player props and different things like that. And Carm and I will take a peek into Saturday's card as well. Of course, we do have Carmine's 6 and 60, and I have a few plays to look at for Saturday as well. I was happy to hit my play of the day yesterday, and it was an underdog with the Ottawa Senators late night yesterday over the Kraken. That one definitely was a bit sweatier than I would have liked, but hey, it cashed, and I'll take that any day of the week. Somebody that did not have a sweaty pick, though, that was Carmine with a huge 5% winner. I'll bring him in. What's up, Carm?
They don't come around often. For all you guys wondering on Wednesday's show where the Prez was, he started in goal last night for the Buffalo Sabres. That's the only way to explain what happened to the Sabres. But I've been talking about like the bad scheduling spots, Andrew, for this team, and too many games in so few days, and it caught up to them. They had to start Eric Comrie, which I knew. And if you look at the XG numbers, the final XG numbers for that game, it's unbelievable. It was only 4.24 to 1.75 for Dallas. It seemed like, and I was telling you, they would skate over the blue line and just take a wrist shot on goal, and it would go in. It was Eric Comrie wasn't even there. He was non-existent in that goal. I couldn't believe it. And then some of those other games, like the Pittsburgh Penguins, invite them to your birthday. Don't invite them to your birthday party because they'll blow out your candles, because these guys blow leads like crazy. They can't hold on to anything. It's unbelievable. They're having nightmares about the New York Islanders. 3 straight games against them where they had the lead and they lose. Malkin, did he even have a shot on goal? I don't even think so. I think I must have looked at the stats for Freddie Muñoz, who was Malcolm in the middle instead of Malkin. It was horrible. But some of those games yesterday, Andrew, good call on your underdog play. Ottawa Senators get the money done in Seattle. Some crazy games yesterday in the NHL, but we move on to like just 2 horrible games today. Like minus 400 games. We're not going to pick sides. I'm going shot props. I'm giving you guys some shot props on today's game. Some of them hit so easily for my clients yesterday. Jason Robertson had 5 shots in the first period. That was an easy one. It hits. Erik Karlsson, 3 shots in the first period. It hits. So they're great when they hit, and especially when they hit early. So I was pretty happy about that. But we have the 6 and 60 segment. We have Andrew is going to do, guys, a pizza parlay for Saturday. 3 totals in the NHL tomorrow. He is going to do it. I convinced him last night to do it, and the 6 and 60. We're going to make it easy. If I get 1 right out of the 6, I want to get them all right. But if I get 1 right, I'll give out T-shirts. And as far as yesterday, I picked one guy out of our chat. TJ, I think it was TJ, I wrote his name down. TJ Salvador. Send me a message either to the Puck Time the Puck Time Twitter account, or on my Twitter account, and I'm going to get you out a Puck Time shirt. Even though all 3 best bets didn't win, I'm still going to give out a shirt, and then we'll give out another one with the 6 and 60 segment and Andrew's Pizza Parlay. So with that said, Andrew, 2 super exciting games tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat. Can't wait for them to start. But yeah, I was upset. I got to be fully transparent as well, though. I did have the team total there with the Penguins over 3.5, 3 goals after 2 periods, and couldn't get one more. Had a chance for an empty net, and then had a chance in overtime, and well, they did not get it done for me either in either of those spots there. But It was a good night of the NHL last night, and hats off to Brian as well, because Brian had the Ottawa Senators for his best bet here on the show. So wanted to give some props there to Brian. He's always great here on the show with us, and he's always a good underdog guy. So I was happy to hear that I was on the same underdog as Brian. Carm, let's start things off with the Blackhawks and Florida Panthers here. And, obviously we're joking around it being a pretty ugly slate, but we'll do our best to try and find some winning plays here. Florida minus 460, puck line minus 1.5, minus 190, plus 355 here on the Blackhawks, plus 1.5 is plus 160. That is something you just already, plain and simple, guys, I'll say right now, that's something that you do not see very often here, with a plus 1.5 goals being a plus 160. You can get at some shops a plus 2.5 at pretty much the same price that you pay for most plus 1.5s in other games. So total is 6.5 in this one, as expected. And kind of just breaking things down here, before I throw it to Carm, the team total over 2.5 goals plus 155 for the Blackhawks, under 2.5 minus 210, over 3.5 is minus 245 for the Panthers, over 4.5 minus 110. I mean, the books are telling us here we're getting like a 5-1, 4-2 type of game here, Carm. I actually don't think this game goes over the total. We talk about finding ways to make money on games like this. And of course we can go over the prop stuff as well, but I think we actually see an under here. I feel like this is a Blackhawks team that, of course, they've been giving up goals. They're a team that's not really the best defensively, but honestly, Florida hasn't really been impressing me offensively. They're a team that I think is a team built on a couple different players. They won the President's Trophy last year because they had depth. And this year, I don't think they have that nearly as much. Of course, they lose Huberdeau. So I'll take the under 6.5. I got a few props as well for this game. But what do you have for us? And what do you think about me taking an under in a Florida and Chicago game?
I think of the two games that Chicago is going to play today and tomorrow in Florida, because they'll play Tampa Bay tomorrow. I think of the two games, this is the one that likely stays under the total, and I think tomorrow is going to be a higher scoring game. The only way for me to play this is, again, it's like a minus 450 game. The 1.5 is at minus 190, and even though if you look at Chicago's last 10 losses, 8 of them have been by 2 or more goals, I still am not going to lay minus 190 on a puck line. If anything, I would look at, and I told you guys I'm going to do some shot props, and I have one in this game for you. If anything, I would look at maybe Florida first period. You can take the first period handicap, lay half a goal with Florida, and it's minus 120. Of all the big minus numbers in this game, minus 190 on the puck line, minus 450 on the game line, even the team total is 4.5, and I don't want to take that because you're relying on Florida to score 5 goals in a game which could very well stay under. I think the first period, minus a half, minus 120 is not a bad way to go. And as far as the shot prop goes, we're going to go back to the one I mentioned earlier this week that hit for us, Sam Bennett. If you look at his last 10 games, and 2 of those games he had to leave early in the game. I think he only played 8 to 9 minutes in the game, getting injured and leaving with lower body injury. He has gone over the total in 7 of his last 8 games, where he's obviously played a full game. Now, obviously, you can't make a bet assuming that he's going to play or he's hoping he's not going to get injured, but he's 7-1 over that number. And in a game in which Chicago gives up the 4th most goals the 4th most shots on goal in the NHL, I'm assuming they're going to give up a bunch of shots tonight as well too. Anaheim's the worst, followed by Arizona. Chicago is 4th on that list. So give me Sam Bennett over over 2.5 shots on goal as well too. I think the price is minus 135 on that. And Florida first period, minus a half, minus 120.
I mean, that first period play is definitely a way to get that, much better number. Get that price down, get the Florida Panthers to have a good start to their game, and you're turning a minus 460 into a minus 120, 125, depending on where you're shopping around there. And, Carm, when I looked at this slate as far as the props, one thing that frustrated me as far as this Florida Panthers team is that, like I said out the start, there's only a couple guys that really do damage. So, I'm going to talk about this, stuff again in the best bet segment. But when I looked across the board, there's a lot of favorites, a lot of heavy juice. Brandon Montour, Barkov, Reinhardt. I mean, Kachuk. You're not getting a solid goal scorer with his shot prop anywhere under 150 today. It pretty much seems like. It seems like most of these guys in Florida, and I get it. It makes sense, of course. I mean, Florida's a massive favorite in the 400 range and stuff like that. But it is one of those things where you're trying to find these prices. And I know that sometimes it's worth it. I talked about it yesterday. Max Domi. I know you mentioned Jason Robertson, and that was a great call by you, Karn. But Max Domi, since he got traded, he's been at 1.5 shots on goal at minus 175. And so this is the frustrating part, is that I've done it once, but I don't want to be laying that price every game. But if the books are giving me a 1.5 on somebody and they're getting 4 or 5 shots, that's presumably what we call value. That's pretty much what we, if they're going over by that much. But I found one I talked about earlier I wanted to bring to your attention was, how lots of defensemen, like you can bet defensemen and their player points, but most of the time defensemen don't actually get goals. So as we all know, a point is a goal or an assist. But it's with defensemen, you can take at certain guys like Seth Jones. I talked about this prop it up show, but his point prop is plus 106 to get a point, but his assist prop is plus 160 goals compared to just getting assists. So that's kind of one that I was looking at. But hey, Chicago has to shoot the puck too. So I feel like we should almost be looking at some Blackhawk players as well.
Yeah, at some point these guys got to get a puck on net as well too. It's you look at Andrew and you mentioned it. You look at some of the prices on these guys, and they're just so over. They're so overpriced. It's tough. You want to take like Ekblad originally was 3.5 even money this morning. He's already 3.5 minus 125 at DraftKings. It's already gone up a bit. Barkov was minus 155. He's at minus 175. You've got to grab these ones early. And the ones I try and get them out to my, my long-term clients, whether you're all access, whether you're NHL, to get them out early, because at the end of the day, while if I still like it at 165 or 170, I want you guys to get the best price possible, which is why I get them out in the morning. But Andrew, it's crazy because the Barkov one is at minus 175 tonight, and I'm pretty sure that one's going to hit over 2.5. But like you mentioned, like some of these other guys, and it's slanted one way, because you look at and it'll always be slanted when you're taking shot props against teams that allow a lot of shots on goal. The Anaheim Ducks are allowing 39.2 shots on goal per game. The next one in line have shots less, Arizona Coyotes, then the Columbus Blue Jackets, and then you have the Chicago Blackhawks. These are 4 teams that just allow a ton of shots on goal. So if you can find those minus 140 range ones to minus 150, you got to take advantage of them. I'm looking at first a couple of the Chicago guys, Andrew, and I just don't know who's going to get them. Do you have any idea? Like, are you looking at anything? Does anything stand out to you as far as some Chicago guys?
Well, that's the funny thing. I always say here on the show that, hey, somebody has to score. Somebody has to do something for these bad teams. But that's kind of, I was wondering how many guys are really getting a lot of chances. And really the best one I came up with was that defensive one, because Seth Jones is someone that I think is constantly chipping in. One guy was Andreas Athanasiou. He was someone who's really left right now on this Blackhawks team? After Kane left, they trade away Kane and Domi. I feel like Athanasiou might be someone to look towards, but the fact of the matter is you're not really getting a good price on that one either. And he's he's been battling injuries and stuff like that. I mean, there's guys that are 2 in and out of the lineup. So what actually might be a good prop to look at, Carm, is the save prop under on the goaltender tonight for Florida. That might be a good one. Not because he's going to get lit up, because he might not face that many shots.
Yeah. And the reason why I likely won't look for any Chicago props and stuff, because I'm looking at this as a playing against a team that allows a lot of shots on goal, as opposed to a game in which I expect a lot of shots on goal.
Right.
I expect it to be one-sided. I expect Florida to obviously win. I expect Florida to get a majority of the shots on goal and have most of the play. So then you look at if Chicago ends up with 25 shots on goal, it's going to be spread throughout the team. Is one guy going to have an outlier of a game where he has 4 or 5 shots on goal? I don't know. It's just something that I don't want to, that I wouldn't want to take as far as that goes. If you look at, Florida is still 3-5. They're still top 10 in shots on goal allowed, but they're at 32.15 shots on goal allowed. So they do allow them, but they have been a lot better of late, which is why their games have been a lot lower scoring. But I think we've talked enough about this ugly game. Let's get on to another ugly game.
Yeah, moving on. And obviously, the next game we're going to talk about, like you said, features the Anaheim Ducks, who are dead last as far as the shots on goal are concerned and what they allow here. They're plus 310 tonight. Underdogs on the road in Calgary. Calgary Flames minus 400, total at 6. Shaded towards the over, minus 120 there. Plus 1.5 for the Ducks, plus 135, minus 1.5, minus 160 here for the Calgary Flames. Carm, what do you have for us in this one? And what are you thinking about this Flames team? Because as I talked with you before the show about this, we're getting a much better price now on them to miss the playoffs at minus 130, which is crazy. It was in the 200 range just earlier this week.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like teams like it's weird because teams like Anaheim are much like Montreal we saw last night. They're competing, but they're finishing on the wrong end of the scoreline. If you look at Montreal's scores, you're seeing a lot of 3-2s, 4-3s. Pretty much, they're losing one goal games. In Anaheim, you look at like their last 10, they've won 4 of their last 10, but they're competing, at least their last few against Vancouver. They lose 3-2 in overtime. Prior to that, the Kraken beat them, but their games prior to that, they had won 4 out of 5 with an OT loss to the Washington Capitals. So they're at least competing, and you get it. I'm just wondering if, and I hate to say it, if this is going to be one of those flat spots for the Calgary Flames coming home, off a short 2-game road trip where they played extremely well. They get a win in Dallas 5-4. They beat Minnesota in OT, winning 1-0. They come home in a game where you expect them to win, and they lay a flat one. Like, I might actually consider taking the Ducks at plus 1.5, plus 135 on the puck line. I probably won't get to the window on it, but I'm looking at shot props in this game, and I'll give you a couple that I'm looking at. A couple of shot props I'm looking at in this one is Blake Coleman, and I'll talk to you about that one at the end of the show as well too. He didn't register a shot on goal in that 1-0 win over Minnesota, but 6 of his prior 7 he had gone over that total. He's at 2.5 minus 135, and Anaheim does allow the third most shots on, or sorry, the most shots on goal. So that's something to look at. And then I normally don't take unders. Troy Terry is at 2.5. I would play under. He has gone under the total in 8 of his last 10 games. He's gone under his shot prop. And the 2 times he's gone over were against Arizona and Chicago, who are the 2nd worst and 4th worst teams as far as the amount of shots on goal allowed. So you would expect shots on goal in those games that they played. But in games where he plays much better defensive teams, he has gone under the total in 8 of his last 10. I would take Troy Terry under 2.5 shots on goal.
You know what? Sometimes the unders can be painful to bet, but when you're betting an under on an Anaheim Ducks player, Carm, probably isn't a bad idea. Like you mentioned in the last segment there with the Hawks game, they might have a couple guys that get 1 or 2 shots, but to ask one guy to stick out and get 3 or 4 is a whole new argument and a whole new discussion. So I like that one quite a bit. And for me, I'm not sure I'm going to get to the window on this. I'll make that very clear. But if I was playing this game, I've already said I like the Flames to miss the playoffs. They're a very inconsistent team. Even if they win tonight, I'm not convinced they win this by a lot. I like the +1.5 here at +135. Starting the game, getting a goal and a half here with the Ducks, a team that certainly shows up for games like this against top opponents, or at least, in big underdog situations. In 3 of Calgary's last 4 wins, they only won by 1 goal. This is a team that does not blow teams out. I think Anaheim could hang around. They could stack their own end, protect their own end, play good defense. And it's not that often that we see a plus price like +135 when you're talking about, a team like this that's so low in the standings, but you're getting a +135 on the puck line here. I don't bet a lot of +1.5s. I'm always worried about the empty net goal and stuff like that. But to me, I feel like this is a really good spot for it today. So that's where I'll look here in this one. And as far as the shots on goal props, I think you have to continue to look at a guy like Mikael Backlund, getting a plus price there with him over 3.5 shots on goal. That's kind of where I'd look here in this one. It is weird, Carm, because I said to you before the show as a joke, saying, hey, maybe we could just, parlay the 2 favorites, see what we get. But, there might be one team to upset. And I think we both agree that if someone's going to get upset, it could be Calgary. So between the 2 games, I think the barking dog could be the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Andrew. I was muted there for a second. You're right. It's just when Calgary's one of those teams, or you talked about the toxic relationships or the toxic girlfriend or whatever. They win when you expect them to lose, and they lose a game when you expect them to win. And we've seen some -400s go down, and some of them in the past, I think in the past week or so. So it can very well happen. It's pizza money. Toss some pizza money on the +1.5. You're getting plus money. If it hits, you're happy. You just can't play -400 teams. I know some people out there might think, let me just take the 2 favorites tonight, -400, parlay them together, drop it down to it's still going to be -200 or so. It's just not worth it at the end of the day. Tomorrow's a huge card. So you can look at it that way. So I mentioned Andrew is going to do a pizza parlay bet for tomorrow. I convinced him to do one, so I didn't have to do one because I've got the 6 and 60. So why don't we do the 6 and 60 right now? We'll load it and then we'll go to the pizza parlay. How does that sound, Andrew? Does that work with you?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So before our producer hits that bell, because I know he loves ringing that bell for the 6 and 60 segment, I will say this. So last week I said if you hit ticks, I'll names out of our live chat on Monday with some puck time shirts. We end up going 3 and 3 in the 6 and 60. I'm going to make it easier. As 6 games, if every team in the 6 and 60 registers 1 shot on goal, at least 1 shot on goal, I'm going to give out a shirt on Monday. So with that said, it's a no-brainer. Dan, hit that clock, man. And away we go. All right. Buffalo and the Rangers, a tale of 2 different schedules. This will be the Rangers' 3rd game in 8 days. It'll be Buffalo's 5th game in 8 days. Let's take the Rangers in this one. Colorado and Arizona. Colorado in regulation time. Bounce back spot for the Avalanche and against the Coyotes team that have lost 20 of their last 21 games on the road. Tampa and Chicago. We're going to take the over in this game. Lightning 7-2-1 to the over their last 10 games and off a loss to Vegas on Thursday. Montreal and New Jersey. Devils in regulation. Montreal's competing, but they're still coming up empty. Devils 7-2-1 their last 10. But one of their 2 regulation losses was the Montreal Canadiens. Revenge spot here. Vancouver and Ottawa. Ottawa money line here. Canucks are playing better defensively late, but Sens have won 6 of their last 7 and making a legitimate playoff push. Let's take the Ottawa money line, and then we're going to finish with San Jose and Minnesota. We're going to take the over here. I took the Wild over last time out. The Sharks are playing no defense whatsoever. It's going to be another over here. Take the over. That's your 6 and 60.
Gotta love it. And if Carmine has some success, which I think he will, there will be some giveaways and things like that. And that segment's so great, especially on a day like this, because here we are on a Friday with 2 games that, hey, we think we found some possible betting opportunities with props and sides and totals, but to look ahead for Saturday, if you guys are diehard NHL fans or NHL bettors, don't wait until tomorrow morning when you get up to check the board. Check it right now. Take a look at what you think is going to happen and some predictions that you might like, because getting ahead of the odds, looking at the way things change, I think is really important to look at in the world of betting in general. Like, not just hockey though, Carm. I think every sport's really important.
And it is. And I'll use yesterday's 5% play on Dallas as a perfect example. That game continued to steam throughout the day. So, if you picked up the play in the morning, you picked up the play at noon or 2:00, you're getting, minus anywhere from minus 145 to minus 155. But by the time it hit game time, it was like minus 165, minus 170, because you see Eric Comrie's in net, and you could just see, people are looking into scheduling, and now they're noticing, the Sabres' terrible schedule. And it just was a terrible spot. And I didn't expect Dallas to put up 10 goals, but they did. Always try and get the best number, and kind of like the shot props we talked about earlier. Andrew, after today's show, I'm craving. No, it's not. I'm not going to have a chicken Big Mac. I'm craving pizza, man. I am craving pizza today. I need some carbs. And with that said, I need a totals 3-team pizza parlay from you. So give it to us.
Well, I think it's going to be pizza night in my house. So hopefully this parlay can pay for it, the pizza in advance, I guess, here. I've got 3 plays that I've looked ahead to tomorrow's slate to try and cash some tickets here. It's a 3-team totals parlay. First one I've looked at here, Montreal, New Jersey, over the total of 6.5. This is a Montreal team that they've been competing. They've actually been involved in some games against some top-tier opponents and hanging around. You saw their game yesterday against the Rangers, but they're giving up a ton of chances. They're scoring some goals themselves as well, but their defense is giving up a ton of chances. And the New Jersey Devils, don't look now, but they're in one of their kind of weirdest stretches right now as far as their defensive hockey, not playing their best defensive hockey. So I feel like that one is going to be a wild game. We'll go up and over 6.5 in that one. We all know that Vegas is a pretty good road team. They go under quite a bit on the road, but the more games they play on the road, they meet a Carolina team that's been putting up goals in big bunches here. I'll go over 6 in that one. And Nashville and Los Angeles. Los Angeles, the best part about them, they're a talented offensive team, a team making a push for the playoffs, but they have 3 lines that completely buy in to defensive hockey. They protect their own end very well. All the forwards back check. They have a rather older team, and those guys are very responsible with the puck. And I think Nashville, as we all know, not really a team that puts up too many big numbers. So it's a $100 bet. It wins $516. That'll be a good way to start off the weekend and cash a ticket there. That's my Puck Time pizza parlay for you, Carm. What do you think about that one?
I'm kind of hungry right now, and that looks good. I'm going to play it. I'll put in a couple of them. I'm going to put your pizza parlay in. I'm going to do a 6-team 6 and 60, maybe even round robin the 6 and 60, because there's always one game that gets me. Did I take the Detroit Red Wings this week? I'm just looking at the card. No, I didn't. So Little Caesars is not going to get me this week on the 6 and 60 or the pizza parlay. So I'm pretty happy about that. But I like those. So best of luck to you. Let's get some best bets out to these guys on the show, and because I've got pizza waiting for me, I'm going to go and pick one up. So I'll go first, Andrew, and then I'll throw it over to you. How's that?
Okay.
All right.
Lead us
off. 4 plays up in the NHL. They are player props tonight, so you can head over to Wager Talk and grab those. A busy soccer day for me. Good day yesterday in Europa League, profitable day, and we'll look to head into what's a big weekend as well with 4 plays today in soccer. Maybe pick up the 1-day all access, or grab the 3-day all access package and get every single play through Sunday with some busy soccer cards, some busy NHL cards as well too. My show best bet, I am going to go to the game that we talked about and a play that I talked about, Blake Coleman, over 2.5 shots on goal. minus 135. He didn't get a shot on goal in that last game against Minnesota, but that was a game in which they only registered, I think, 24, 25 shots on goal against a stingy Minnesota team. But he has hit 6 of his last 7 over this number, and we're going to go with him to hit it again. So Blake Coleman over 2.5 shots on goal, minus 135 is your show best bet. Have a great weekend, guys.
Carm, I hope you have a great weekend as well, man. Keep crushing it. Congratulations again on your 5% play yesterday. Jam-packed soccer day, like he said, so make sure you check out Carmine over at wagertalk.com. For me, I have a 4% best bet up in the UFC. I'm on an 11-5 run with my 4% UFC plays. Those 4% best bets are going very well. And I'll have a couple different ones as well. Past 2 cards, I'm on a 5-2 UFC run. Made about 13, 14 units. Last week, I hit 2 4% plays on 1 card, something I don't do very often, but I had 2 last week, 1 4% play for this weekend. NHL, you guys pretty much heard all of what I like. I'll have some stronger opinions tomorrow on the bigger Saturday slate. My best bet here, Carm, look, I don't love doing this on the show. It was minus 160, then it was 65. Now we're seeing some 70s. It's going crazy here, but maybe it could be a parlay piece for people, but Alexander Barkov over 2.5 shots on goal. This guy should not be getting 2.5 for his number. We've seen him hit this in 6 straight games. The Blackhawks ranked 28th in the league in shots on goal against. And this is a game that Florida will be up for. They will be firing shots on net. And I do not think this will be a pretty game if you're a defenseman or a goaltender for the Chicago Blackhawks. So Barkov over 2.5 shots on goal. If you like this bet it now. That number continues to move. And like Carmine said, wishing you guys all a very good weekend, a successful one, a happy one. And really just hope we can cash some tickets here with my pizza parlay with Carmine 6 and 60. And all that good stuff will come into Monday's show in a great mood. So on behalf of Carmine, I'm Andrew. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at Wager Talk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at Wager Talk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to wagertalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.